I was scraping paint off my porch railing when I heard it. My own daughter's voice, sharp as broken glass through the speaker of a phone she didn't know was still connected. "Dad's not safe alone anymore. If we list it quick, we could clear $600,000 easy." I froze, brush in hand, staring at the house I'd built board by board. The sun caught the grain in the railing, the same one my wife May used to lean on while drinking her morning coffee. That's when I knew they weren't just talking. They were planning. And not for my good. Before I tell you what happened next, hit subscribe if you love stories where the underdog bites back, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I want to see how far this one travels. If you're new here, welcome. Stick around, because what I'm about to share is the kind of truth people think only happens in movies. May's been gone 6 years now, and I've kept this place the same. Her copper wind chimes still hang by the kitchen door. Her rose bushes still bloom along the fence line. Folks in Asheville know me as the guy who can fix anything with his own two hands. But lately, I guess I've been moving slower. A jar of nails left on the wrong shelf, forgetting to return a borrowed ladder, small things. Apparently, that's all it took for my daughter Lila and her husband Brent to start seeing me less like a father and more like an asset. I remember the day I first sanded this porch. My hands were steady, my back was strong, and I believed family meant safety. Now, with their voices still echoing in my head, I could feel something shifting inside me. I didn't know the full shape of their plan yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to be anyone's quick payday. The thing about hearing something you were never meant to hear is that it keeps playing in your head, even when you want it to stop. That night, I sat in May's old armchair with the lights off, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the faint rattle of those copper wind chimes outside. My phone lit up again, Lila's number. I almost answered, but instead, my thumb hovered over the green button until the call went to voicemail. A minute later, I got a text from my neighbor Carla, who thought she was helping. "Saw some folks in suits walking through your place today. Looked like a showing. Everything okay?" My chest went tight, like someone had cinched a strap around it. Suits? In my house? Without a word to me? The next morning, I drove to the hardware store like it was any other Saturday, but I couldn't stop picturing strangers in my kitchen, stepping around the rug where May used to kneel to scrub the tile, or peering into the small upstairs room that still smelled faintly of her lilac perfume. It felt like a violation, not just of my space, but of everything I'd worked for. By noon, I decided I had to see for myself. I pulled up the live feed from the smart doorbell I'd installed last winter, mostly to keep an eye on package thieves. Sure enough, the saved clips showed Brent ushering 2 men and a woman up my front steps, waving an arm toward the porch like he was already the owner. One of them even pointed at May's rose bushes, jotting notes like they were part of the deal. My hands shook so bad I nearly dropped my phone. It wasn't just talk anymore. They were moving, fast, behind my back. The worst part wasn't the greed. It was the realization that my own daughter didn't think I deserved to know my home was being paraded around like a prize pig at auction. I sat there at the kitchen table, staring at the door Brent had just unlocked in that video, and for the first time in years, I felt something heavier than grief. I felt replaced. By Sunday morning, the fog in my head had cleared just enough for me to see the road ahead. Blurry, maybe, but headed in one direction. I wasn't going to let them decide how my story ended. I sat at the kitchen table with a legal pad, the kind May used to keep grocery lists on, and started scribbling names. I didn't know many lawyers, but I did know one person who always kept her word. Nora Patel, a sharp-eyed attorney who used to volunteer for my school's robotics team back when I was still teaching shop. She'd helped a few of my retired friends with estate planning, and I figured if anyone could tell me how to keep my house out of Lila and Brent's reach, it'd be her. I called her office Monday morning, and to my surprise, she picked up herself. "Hank Mercer. Well, I'll be. It's been, 10 years?" Her voice was warm, but when I told her why I was calling, it dropped into something harder, more precise. "Meet me at my office in an hour, and bring any documents you have, deed, will, anything with your name on it." The way she said it told me she'd seen this kind of family maneuver before. At her desk, she spread my papers out like pieces of a puzzle. They can't sell what they don't own, but if they get guardianship, they could force a sale for your benefit. She made air quotes with her fingers. So we're going to make sure that's impossible. That's when she explained the idea of a life estate, a legal setup that would let me keep living here as long as I wanted, but also let me choose exactly what happens to the property when I'm gone. When I mentioned I'd always wanted to do something for the community, she leaned forward. I know a nonprofit that turns properties into affordable rentals for teachers and nurses. You'd keep your home, help others, and lock it out of reach from anyone with bad intentions. For the first time since that phone call, I felt my shoulders loosen. There was a way out, and it wouldn't just be about keeping what was mine. It'd be about building something that Lila and Brent couldn't put a price tag on. 2 days after meeting with Nora, I thought I was on solid ground. Papers in motion, the life estate draft already with the county clerk's office. Then the first punch landed. A thick envelope arrived by certified mail, stamped Buncombe County Superior Court. Inside was a petition for guardianship, filed by none other than Lila and Brent. In neat legal language, it claimed I was increasingly forgetful, unable to manage property safely, and at risk of financial harm without intervention. They even listed witnesses: my neighbor Carla and the cashier at the hardware store. My stomach dropped. Carla, the same neighbor who brought me sweet tea in the summers? I called her immediately. She stammered, swore she never meant to hurt me, said Brent had asked her to sign something for Dad's safety. Nora wasn't surprised. This is classic. If they can paint you as incompetent, the court can override anything we're setting up. We filed a response that afternoon, but she warned me. It could stall the nonprofit transfer for weeks. Every day the paperwork sat unfinished was a day they could make another move. That night, I woke at 2 a.m., heart pounding, convinced I heard someone at the back door. It was nothing but wind against the screen, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Sitting in May's chair, I dug out my old phone and played the only voicemail I'd saved from her. "Don't let them small you down, Hank." I must have replayed it a dozen times until my breathing slowed. The next morning, the bank called. Brent had tried to update my account with a new power of attorney document. By the time the court date for the guardianship petition rolled around, I was done playing defense. Nora and I agreed we'd take the fight right to them, but not in the courthouse first. I called Lila on a Thursday morning and told her I wanted to have a family brunch at the house that Saturday, just the three of us, to talk things through. She hesitated, then agreed, probably thinking I was ready to surrender. When they arrived, they weren't carrying muffins. They brought a notary and a blank power of attorney form. Brent had that slick salesman smile plastered on, like I'd been waiting all week to sign my life over. "Let's make this easy, Dad," he said, sliding the papers across my own dining table. I didn't touch them. Instead, I reached over to the laptop I'd set up in the corner and clicked the spacebar. The projector hummed to life, casting a bright rectangle on the wall above the mantel. First came the clip from my smart doorbell, the one showing Brent leading strangers through my home, gesturing to May's rose bushes like they were up for auction. Then the video cut to me at the clinic, taking a cognitive assessment and acing every question. Finally, a recorded statement from the director of Blue Ridge Homes appeared. As of 9:02 a.m. this morning, the Mercer property has been transferred into the Blue Ridge Community Land Trust, with Mr. Mercer retaining a full life estate. Before either of them could speak, a knock sounded at the door. A sheriff's deputy stepped in, calm as you please, and handed Brent a folded sheet. "Protective order against financial exploitation," the deputy said. Brent's face lost its color. Lila's mouth opened and closed like she was trying to breathe underwater. I just sat back in my chair, hands folded, watching the moment sink in. For months they'd been planning my exit. Now, in one morning, I'd planned theirs. The silence after the deputy left was thicker than any argument we'd ever had. Brent stared at the protective order like it might dissolve if he blinked hard enough. Lila kept glancing between me and the screen where the Blue Ridge Homes logo still glowed, as if she could will it all to rewind. But nothing was going back. By Monday morning, Nora called with updates. Our counter-petition had been dismissed with prejudice, meaning they couldn't drag me into court over guardianship again. Brent's troubles didn't stop there. The state securities board caught wind of his little asset transfer stunt, and by Wednesday, his brokerage license was suspended, pending a full investigation. I didn't need to ask how that went over with his firm. Lila's world cracked in its own way. Word got around fast in Asheville, and when a local parenting blogger picked up the story of the daughter who tried to sell her dad's house, her social media brand deals vanished like morning mist.
They each called me once in the weeks that followed. Brent's was short, full of clipped words about misunderstandings and no hard feelings. Lila's was longer, her voice breaking more than once, but she never actually said she was sorry. I told them both the same thing. You're welcome to visit, but you're not welcome to manage me. And if you come as family, not as buyers. Nora had helped me set strict boundaries. No keys, no access to accounts, and every conversation in writing until trust could be rebuilt. I spent those next weeks in a strange mix of relief and grief. I'd won, sure, but winning meant admitting my relationship with my only child might never be what it once was. Still, for the first time in months, I woke up knowing no one was coming for my home, and that alone was worth the cost.
Spring settled into the Blue Ridge Mountains the way May used to settle into a quilt, slow, warm, and with a touch of grace. Construction crews from Blue Ridge Homes worked through the mornings, laughter and hammer strikes echoing across the yard. By summer, the property had transformed into 4 bright, welcoming apartments, each one leased to a teacher or nurse who'd been struggling to find affordable housing in Asheville. My life estate gave me the carriage studio out back, just big enough for me, May's copper wind chimes, and the workbench I'd hauled from the old garage. On Saturdays, I started hosting a free woodworking class for the new tenants, showing them how to fix a drawer slide or plane down a sticky door. Watching their faces light up reminded me of my shop students from years ago, and for the first time since May passed, I felt like I was building something again. Lila showed up one afternoon with a pan of banana bread and no Brent. Her eyes were rimmed red, and she didn't try to explain. I handed her a folding chair, pointed at the workbench, and said, "Grab a sanding block." We worked side by side in the easy silence that comes when there's nothing left to argue about, only work to do. I didn't know if we'd ever get back what we lost, but I knew I wasn't going to let bitterness write the rest of my story. If this whole mess taught me anything, it's that self-worth isn't measured in what you give away to keep people close. It's in the boundaries you set, even if it costs you their approval. Respect isn't inheritance. Respect is how you treat someone when there's nothing to gain. And sometimes the best revenge isn't slamming the door. It's building a better one, locking it, and opening it only when you decide. At its heart, Hank's story is a reminder that self-respect isn't something you hand over to keep the peace. It's something you guard, even when doing so means shaking the ground under people you love. Many of us, especially as we get older, are taught to let things slide for the sake of family harmony, but silence in the face of manipulation often just feeds the problem. Hank didn't set out to humiliate his daughter or her husband. He set out to protect his dignity, his home, and the life he and May had built through decades of hard work. His choice to confront the truth, openly, calmly, and with a plan, proves that you can push back against injustice without losing yourself to bitterness. It's also a lesson in seeing people for who they are in their actions, not just their words, and understanding that love sometimes means drawing a line in the sand, even if it's painful. For a mature audience, the takeaway is clear. Protect what's yours. Set boundaries before they're tested, and never underestimate the quiet power of acting on your own terms. If you've ever faced a situation where someone tried to decide your future for you, or if this story stirred something familiar, share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how you handled it, or what you might do differently now. Hit like if you believe respect should be earned, not assumed, and subscribe so you don't miss more stories that dig deep into the messy, complicated side of family and human nature. Until next time, may you find peace after your own storms and the courage to protect it.